Second. Everything was muted. All right. What's up, everybody? It's your boy, the Don, the Godfather, future Hall of Famer, JD Legend here with my boy, Mr.Morj. Mr. Morj, welcome to the JD Twitch channel. It's been a minute. I've known you for a while, but the fact that we haven't really done a video together is kind of crazy, so I'm kind of happy to have you here. So, man, how you doing?
Thanks, man.
What's going on?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I've had a pretty long day. I was just telling you, I just recorded my reaction to the One Piece live action casting, so you all can watch out for that in a little bit. I don't know if everyone's caught up on that, but those just came out.
Yeah, we'll definitely be covering that. That's for certain. We're definitely going to be covering that. But one thing I heard also is that you made a Sanji video as well, and I have not seen it. And they said I'm supposed to react to it. So I'm curious if it's something like your ZKK video. I mean, from minute one to the end, I couldn't stop laughing. Like, I just, again, like, what was him? Prison guard number 2, executioner number 2?
Prison guard number 2. I wish that had caught on more. I wish that more people still talked about it. I see it occasionally, but I'm like, come on, bring this up. Every time ZKK comes up, I want to see prison guard number 2 brought up. That's
the thing. It's just because I would say I think Zoro and Kaido have been separated for so long now that people are not talking about ZKK anymore. If it kept happening and say Zoro got bodied again, you know, there'd be quite a few, quite a few people referencing that video. That's what I think for sure.
Good. Fucking good.
Yeah.
That's probably, I don't know. I didn't even realize how bad that video was. Not how bad, but like how controversial that video was till I watched your reaction. And then you were saying, oh, this is really toxic. I was like, oh, if Jay's saying this is toxic, then what the fuck did I just do?
I had to give it. So the funny thing is I will be honest, I didn't know you could make a video like that, because you're normally like a pretty, no, you're strong in your opinions, but you're normally even keeled. You don't really like make the aggressive joke memes that I do. Like, I make jokes that are like meant to piss people off, but yeah, I'm still trying to give you some kind of good message with it. So I'm not being an asshole, and you weren't being an asshole, but like, I just didn't see it in you. And I'm like, now that I know I said Morj became my GOAT. I was like, you one of my favorite YouTubers. Ever since that video, I'm like, yeah, Morj is different. He's a different guy.
All right, happy to have swung you over then with my toxicity.
So yeah. What spurred that on? So before we get into, because obviously we want to ask the generic question before we get into our like main topics, but what is it about the theory itself that you can't bear? Do you think if it actually happened, it would tarnish the story? Do you think it would tarnish things in the past as well, especially with Zoro?
All right, so I hate Zoro fans because. Okay, but no, here's the full thing. All right? I actually forgot how much I hate Sanji fans as well, because the Sanji fans were quiet for so long.
Fair.
Fair. I think I generally really, really dislike full scope, right? You say I have to do, I do even keel sort of videos quite a bit, right?
Yeah.
No one's like even keel in their head all the time. You have stuff that's kind of bothering you and pissing you off under the surface, and you have some strong opinions. I'm just forced to kind of like put them into a format that is like, more palatable for as many people as possible and feels like I'm trying to be unbiased as much as I can.
Yeah.
Right? Look, ever since I started going One Piece full time and I've got to do these videos every week and do these chapter reviews every week, it's really, really hard. It's really hard to like not be, like not letting some stuff leak out. So with the ZKK thing, I don't even necessarily hate that theory that much, but once in a while you need an outlet to kind of just rant about something. Right, like yesterday when I did a stream, I ranted about the anime for a good long time, and I kind of got it out of my system. I don't even hate the anime that much, but sometimes you just see something a little bit on Twitter, like people talking some stuff a lot about, like on Twitter or whatever, yeah, and then you just get angry for like a little bit, and some pent-up rage from like accumulated stuff kind of comes out, and then you just put it out in a video. So that was kind of ZKK. I don't hate that theory that much. I actually do, if I was being perfectly honest, I think that maybe there's a good way for Oda to kind of do it, but I hate the fact that like people shit on me for like some of my theories, but then they go out and be like, ZKK is so fucking obvious, it's the perfect theory, everything in the story points to it. I'm like, everything? Does everything in the fucking story point to it? All those lines of Luffy versus, like, I literally don't understand how some people are so like ground into like, because I like this character, I'm just gonna like assume that this character gets everything.
Yeah. It's funny you say that, because that really is the nature of this community, I'd say. We have a lot of pride in our community because we're so together. All the YouTubes collaborate with each other. Yeah, like, we're a good community. but we also have, with a large and good community comes very, very bad and toxic sides and hypocrisy. And one of the funniest theories that me and Virgo ever came up with was Enma breaking. And we came up with legitimate reasons, developing Kaido's character, black blades for Zoro, like all kinds of different things that would all make sense. Enma breaking, and it would be growth for Kaido because he'd overcome his whole Odin PTSD complex thing like that. It shatters, and then Zoro gets Shisui again because it was given to him by Ryuma. Okay, the connection's there. He turns Wado into a black blade. Then he has 2 black blades with Shisui and Wado, and then he cuts or kills Kaido. I'm like, okay, if you just mention it, you spitball that, it sounds okay. Now, there's obviously going to be people that say I'm an idiot because they don't want Emma to break because they just got it, but that's the nature of these theories. You can always find a tie or a little clue here, some foreshadowing, and present it to the world as its hard-born fact. Like O'Hara's video with what's his name, Uteron. Sorry, that's Digimon. Yeah. But his theory, his theory is like so grandiose and has all these connections and numbers, and like he's anticipating everything Oda's doing. If it doesn't work out, all of a sudden it's just going to be another theory in the wind that just didn't work.
The weird tinfoil hat theory at the end of the
and the thing is, like, even when I watched the first video, I'll say this, a lot of people seemed dead set, like, oh yeah, this is 1,000% happening. To me, I'm thinking there's still a lot of speculation here. There's still a lot of speculation with that theory, and they're saying it's the best theory ever made. 2 million views, well deserved. It's definitely in depth. Personally, I'm still skeptical.
Real, I think with that theory, a lot of it comes from, like, it opened a new perspective because none of us speak Japanese, right?
Yes.
Like, we like anime, but not that much. So none of us speak So, like, as soon as it's coming from a different source and it's kind of revealing some stuff like, this is what this means in Japanese and this means this in Japanese, like, all of that stuff sort of coming together, that kind of, because it's something we'd never heard of before, it's just like opening up a whole new door, so people are way more ready to jump on that. It's like, oh, this guy just cracked the code. It's like, well, he just speaks Japanese or kind of knows, what some numbers and stuff mean. Like, I know that Uteron, he had some theory for, like, 1031, some big theory that, like, Vegapunk's going to show up or, like, Onigashima's going to come down or something like that. Nothing happened. Like, the numbers don't always mean that shit.
Exactly.
I'll also add that, like, with certain theories that are, like, very character-based, so I think that's one of the reasons with, like, ZKK, because so much of it, in my mind, is driven, when a theory is more biased, I guess, when it's really based around, like, I want this thing to happen for my character.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's what I think I had a problem with that kind of, because, like, I mentioned this before, but, like, with Zoro fans, it's kind of like, have you ever read that book as a kid? If you give a mouse a cookie?
No, but refresh my memory. Maybe I read it.
It's like a Dr. Seuss style book, but it's like, if you give a mouse a cookie, he's gonna want some milk. If you give the mouse that milk, then he's gonna want some, like, Ovaltine to go with it. Basically, like, no matter what, if you give him this thing, he's just gonna want some more. So that's what I'm saying. That, to me, that's all ZKK is. Yeah. Zoro got Enma, and it's like, Enma is the sword that scarred Kaido. So you would think that most Zoro fans would be excited and be like, oh, Zoro's gonna scar Kaido. But no, if you give a Zoro fan Enma, they're going to be like, Zoro's going to kill Kaido. That's literally what happened. The chapter Zoro got Enma, they were like, that's it, Zoro's going to kill Kaido. I'm like, are we fucking reading the same thing? Enma's the sword that scarred Kaido. Why does this mean that he's going to kill Kaido? And that's where that theory is born from. And then ever since then, any minor shit that happens with Zoro, it's like, this means Zoro's going to kill Kaido. I'm like, what the fuck? Why can't you just be happy with what you get?
Someone please clip this.
And they were like, this is bullshit.
You give us
chop his head off or some shit.
You give a Zoro fan Enma, and he's gonna kill Kaido. Yeah, I need that. I need that
Pretty
clip.
Much it.
Oh my goodness. Now, so I've fought the battle alone for quite some time. I've been fighting against ZKK for God knows how long. Maybe. Honestly, it's been years, which I think is shocking. I don't think I've realized how long I've been on YouTube, so it's kind of scary. I'm not a rookie anymore. I'm not.
Oh, dude, it's so weird to think about.
Yeah.
When you just realize that, I've kind of been doing this for like a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I'm not a new YouTuber at this point. But yeah.
So it's just I think now that I've been a part of the community, I can't even imagine what it's been like for people like Roger and Cole and Brago, who've just lived through all these theories, like Sanji's dad being, you know, the Gorosei, part of the Gorosei, and Brook being tied with the Vince Smokes. Remember how big of a theory that was, and it just completely vanished out of nowhere. So, like, I guess the reason I'm talking to you about this in particular, because obviously, you know what's been going on, like the community, we've settled down before, but in the past, there was obviously a conflict with the downfall of One Piece and everything. And I'm not going to get into specific details because we talked that to death. But I think based on the chapter, the famous chapter of Kinemon still being alive and everyone magically coming alive again.
Yeah.
Right. I want to talk about this, and this is going to be the first topic, because that was all set up because of the community's reaction to your ZKK theory video and the community's reaction to this chapter, and then some YouTubers' reactions to people's reactions. To me, it seemed like that was the first chapter in One Piece we've had where there was a large majority of people that did not like a One Piece chapter. Like, to me, that was a very rare experience. But it seems as though there is a faction, it's more of a minority, that say this has always been in One Piece, why are we surprised? And what bothers me about that is because you just have to you have to think about the reader in that moment, because what you do in the future can affect the perception of what you did in the past. And I think that's what people really struggle with One Piece. Yes, we have fake outs in One Piece. Yes, not everyone dies. If you die, it's got to be for an important reason. We understand that. But the problem is not the death. The problem is the fake out. That's the issue. Right? And I want to talk to more because I'll go on forever. So, one, I just want to get your initial...
No, it's funny to me because, you're talking about, like, there's certain factions and certain groups who have these reactions. I know literally exactly who you're talking about. I know the tweets that you're talking. I know who has this opinion, who had that opinion. I know, like, the little baby battles that go on the timeline and everything like that. You know.
Yeah.
My take on it is basically like, you're 100% right that, like, it's not saying that this has always been part of the series is never a good excuse, because that's just saying, well, then this bad element has always been a part of the series, right? It just says that, like, we've always had this problem. So that's not really a fair thing to complain about. Or sorry, that is a very fair thing to complain about. It's like, well, because we've always had this problem, that's something that we should actually talk about and discuss and be like, why does this stuff keep happening? Like, that's something that you really, really should criticize the series for. I think with a lot of people's arguments, when I say a lot of people, I'm just going to say, I don't care. So, for example, Grand Line Review, his take on it, right, to be perfectly fair to him, I suppose, was basically his take on it was that, like, I don't think he ever said it's good. I don't think he ever said that it's good.
True.
I don't think he said it's good or bad. I think what he said is that, like, you shouldn't be surprised, which I guess is fair, I suppose, yeah. But at the same time, it's kind of circumventing what you should actually be saying but, like, actually offer an opinion on it. So, like, it's fine to say you shouldn't be surprised. I think that's fine to say. I think that still doesn't change the fact that, like, it's definitely an issue that we can't take death seriously in One Piece unless Oda goes out of his way to write a whole Marineford war to construct, like, 2 deaths or something like that. I think that at the very least, did you think Kinemon was dead? Who out of those 3? Did you think they're all dead? 2 dead? 1 dead? What did you think?
I thought Kanjuro was dead.
Same.
I thought Kiku. I had a strong hope that Kiku was dead. I was praying that Kinemon was dead because I think the moment hit me hard, and it's one of the first times I really felt some emotional attachment to Kinemon. And not just Kinemon, but the relationship between Momo and Kinemon because of Momo's reaction, Kaido, Kinemon. Like, that is a strong emotional moment. The savagery of Kaido, the way he allegedly executed Kinemon. It was brutal, and it kind of backed up the theme of Kaido's love of an honorable death or a samurai's death. And to Kaido, that's how a samurai should go out, fighting the strongest to protect his, pseudo son. So I was praying that Kinemon was dead, but I always knew in the back of my mind, Oda can still use Kinemon 100%, so I can see him coming back. It would have been nice if Kiku's death was a good sacrifice and consequence in that moment in time. Kanjuro should have just been dead, period. There's no reason Kanjuro should have been alive. It might be, bringing him back was just so redundant to me.
I agree. So I think across the board with you, I thought that Kiku and Kanjuro were dead. I thought that those two were dead because of the way that Oda kind of wrote their scenes. It's hard to kind of define what made those scenes feel a little different. I always thought Kinemon was alive, and I kind of hoped that Kinemon would get a bigger send-off because Kinemon was a longer-lasting character. I actually felt like Kinemon, to me, his death was the most ambiguous of the three. So I was cool with him coming back. I think overall, my basic take is kind of like, it makes Kiku's death a giant joke because Oda wrote that monologue at the end of for her to go out about like some falling snow and stuff. To me, if you write like a dying monologue that's supposed to be poetic and shit, then they better actually die. Otherwise, it comes across as really corny and cringy and like just a bad. To me, that's really really bad.
Yeah.
And Kanjuro's still coming back. Like, dude, I thought that'd be a good way for him to come out. But Kanjuro has a cool ability on paper. It's kind of doing some stuff we didn't expect. So like, if he can still do some more, I'd be interested. I would actually, I've low-key had this matchup that I've wanted to see for a long time, ever since Momonosuke got aged up, which was Momonosuke versus Kanjuro, if Kanjuro wasn't dead. So
that would have been interesting. Wow. Okay.
I think that could still happen. I think that that's very possible. I guess my final take on the whole situation is basically like, I'm cool with Oda not killing characters. I think he should not write scenes like this, where it's an attempt to make us feel like the character has died. He just shouldn't. You don't want to kill characters, that's totally fine, but don't write scenes where you can't get it both ways. You can't like get the dramatic weight of the character dying. Like you can't squeeze that juice out and then also not kill the character, because that's just, at that point, that's just cheap writing. Like you can't do it like that. You can't like have your cake and eat it too. So either don't kill characters, but if you're gonna kill characters, then actually kill them. Don't do scenes like, oh, they're definitely dead, but then they're not. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what a lot of us are trying to say. I think the biggest disappointment I have is how people seem to misconstrue us just being disappointed with the fake outs and make it seem as we just want everyone to die in One Piece. It's not about wanting people to die in One Piece. If people don't die, that's fine. There's hundreds of mangas that do people that don't die. That's fine. Yep. It's about how you feel in the moment of the death and knowing that it was a troll the entire time. So I imagine this, right? And I talked about Tokyo Revengers. I don't know if you've seen Tokyo Revengers, but there is this scene, and I made this tweet. It was hilarious. I said, this 15-year-old kid, he gets stabbed, he fights 40 people, gets stabbed again, passes out, wakes up, starts bleeding out of his stomach, goes back, has a monologue, falls down, closes his eyes, opens his eyes up again, has another monologue, and then dies. In that moment in time, and people know who I'm talking about, but I don't spoil in the chat, but you know what I'm talking about if you watch Tokyo Revengers. In that moment, I'm thinking to myself, oh, I love the sacrifice. Yeah, he died for his captain. Oh, he's not dead yet. He's doing another monologue. And then you start thinking, his lungs should have be full of blood. How is he still speaking? To the point where it becomes comical to you. So you lose the emotional impact of what you're seeing when you drag this stuff out and you're doing all these fake outs to the point when he actually dies. You don't feel anything anymore because you done meme the moment half to death. So with these fake outs, you feel great. You feel, oh my God, I'm in pain. Yeah. And then you see him running around, or Kinemon's like, oh, Law didn't really attach my body. Oh, and then, with the poop, with the farting, and I'm just like, yo, you gotta be kidding me, bro. Oh my God.
Dude, because suspension of disbelief, that's a thing. Suspension of disbelief, that's cool. But you can only stretch it so much, right? There's gotta be some limit at the end of the road. Also, with the Law Kinemon thing, minor note. Oh, by the way, your entire chat's just muted the stream, spoilers, blah 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 blah. So,
I didn't say what happened. I didn't say they're fine. They said I look like a fake ESPN analyst, so I don't care about them right now.
Okay, Revenger is good, by the way. Do you like it?
Very good, very good.
Very good.
Yes.
You just described a scene that.
Again, with this stuff, it's more like you take it for what it is, and once you accept it for what it is, you enjoy it. To me, that scene was hilarious. That's why I loved it.
What was I saying? Yeah, no, on the Law Kinemon thing, my take was actually like, I think that Oda shouldn't have done the law reason for like Kinemon still being alive. You know what I mean? Like, law, like my body wasn't fully reattached or whatever, right? Like that's the reason that Kinemon's still alive. I actually feel like Oda shouldn't have done that because like if you're kind of going the route of like, oh, he's not actually dead or whatever, he's still able to run around. To me, it's kind of just like, dude, if you're gonna do that route, then just like. It's One Piece, so we already accept that characters can take stupid amounts of damage or whatever. Just say Kinemon survived the attack and is still walking around. Because now you're trying to add like another... Like, we already don't like that Kinemon's alive and running around. Yeah. Most people don't. Now you're trying to add another reason on top of that that's like a fucking stretch on a stretch, which is like that fucking cut Punk Hazard is how he survived. Like, dude, no, just leave it. Just leave it alone. Don't explain yourself any further. Just say he's alive and just leave it at that. I don't know, that's my input on that.
Yeah, I mean, even then, so like, when Kaido hit Kinemon with the club, right, we all thought, there's no way he made it out of that. If Oda had just left it at that, and just showed his bloody body, he could have explained it to a point where maybe Kinemon's Armanakis is built different. Like, you just leave it at that. We call it bullshit, but we move on. We don't have to go to Punk Hazard and we have people fighting, oh, wait, it was actually Sanji that put him together. Law didn't actually do it, so now we're not hunting for theories to justify Oda. I'm like, it's still not good.
It just turns into like, oh, so it was Goda foreshadowing all along. It was like, no, we're not going to spin this bullshit into Oda's genius. Oda's foreshadowing, it's great. 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10. But this is... not one of those moments that I'm gonna praise him for that. That's crazy.
This part is definitely not going on YouTube. By the way, we're putting on the we're putting on the. There's two other topics I want to get to because Lord knows. So the reason I'm saying this now, by the way, is because someone in the chat said it already. The usage of Goda's foreshadowing as justification for things that aren't good. Is a scary thing for me because I would say for the most part the only things I've genuinely had real issues with, and we'll get to the Sanji stuff later, obviously, because Sanji and Black Maria, people still call me a hypocrite for not liking the Sanji and Black Maria stuff, even though I apologized multiple times. But the Big Mom amnesia stuff, the mothering mode stuff, and this latest chapter.
About mothering mode.
All three of those times I have seen people use the same excuse, but it was foreshadowed. It's Goda's foreshadowing. And as someone, maybe as if I was a regular viewer, maybe if we were regular readers and we didn't have to worry about analyzing the story to death, to squeak out content daily, weekly, maybe we'd be okay with it. But in our position where we have to hyper-analyze everything we read and every single sentence and whether it makes sense or not, how you're going to present it to your audience, these things unsettle us. And when you say it was Goda's foreshadowing, we know it was foreshadowed. We just don't think it was done well. We just don't like it. It just wasn't a good idea.
Dude, I hate when people like link me panels or be like, Morj, you forgot this moment. I'm like, you bitch. Has to do this for, I have to do this for work. I literally have to do this for. I have to go. But you know how many times I've probably seen that panel that you're linking me right now? Like,
oh my god! But Jay, what about this? Sanji said this in Punk Hazard. I'm like, bro, it's not helping me. You're making me angrier. Like when you send me that stuff, I only get more upset.
The number of times that people like actually point out something that I forgot about or didn't notice. If anything, it'll be usually something from the most recent chapter. So I was one of the people pointed out to me Sanji's eyebrows changed. I didn't notice that when I was initially reading the chapter, right? So I personally didn't notice that when I was initially reading the chapter. People pointed that out to me on Twitter and in comments. I was like, that's cool. So usually if it's from the most recent chapter, then there's a higher likelihood that someone's pointing out something to me that I haven't seen before. Mm-hmm. If you're going back to be like, Morj, you forgot that, like, I don't know, in Jaya, Cricket said some shit. Okay, I can't think of a good example, but all I'm saying is, like, it's very unlikely that, like, you pull up a panel of, like, some foreshadowing or some shit that I don't know about, because I have to do this as a job. Like, I just do. I have to go back and, like, pull panels and like take input on this shit all the time.
And this is something like I really want the chat to understand. Now they're saying I'm a bad influence on you. They're saying I'm poisoning you. That's fine. I'm used to taking the blame for poison, so whatever. But I just want people to understand this. Like, when you're a content creator and you spend the amount of time looking at this content, you're gonna have to understand that there are gonna be things that you find that you may not be too fond of, right? Like, think about Brago, and forgive me guys, Brago didn't like Luffy versus Katakuri. Well documented. People got angry at him for that. Grand Line Reviews doesn't like Sabo. He made a video on it. Like, go figure.
Grand Line Review doesn't like
he
Sabo?
does not like Sabo. He made I'll never forget that video. He just thinks he's a cheap Ace clone. He said he does not like Sabo, and Sabo's beloved. You know, so it's just like,
yeah,
you have to.
Funny, I used to think that.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, I was okay with Sabo, but he made me think about it. I'm like, okay, I see what he's saying, but Sabo's still raw, so I'm going to ignore you anyway. Like, that's normally my stance with it. But for the most part, I just want people to understand that just because we have criticisms that we may not like doesn't mean we don't love the story, because we've made hundreds of videos that have been positive and you've loved it. The moment we come up with something that we don't like, it's just a testament to the fact that not everything is going to be consistently good all the time. There's going to be lows and there's going to be highs. I think Wano is literally a reflection of the highs of One Piece and the lows of One Piece. I think it's the arc. To me, maybe this is just me. I don't think a lot of people agree with this, but I feel like Wano is one of the most polarizing arcs we've ever had in the story.
I would agree. Okay, are you talking from community perspective, community, like broader community perspective? Are you talking about YouTuber? Who are you talking about?
I would say just from a community perspective.
Or are you talking about quality? Like, are you talking about in the story? I'm saying like polarizing, like up and down quality. Or are you talking about like opinion, broader opinion? Okay.
I would say because again, the Dressrosa argument works, because I remember in Dressrosa reading it week to week. It was pretty painful. There were certain portions where it was really hard to get through Dressrosa. And then there's moments where Dressrosa was great. Doflamingo, Corazon, you get really good backstories and stuff of that nature. I just feel as though Wano, when you think about the lows of Wano compared to the lows of other series, when you think about Big Mom Amnesia, what we just talked about, right? These are like lows that the entire community all had an opinion on. Everyone was fighting. Mothering Mode, like, that stuff was,
I forgot it.
Oh my God.
Forgot about that.
We forgot about Mothering Mode. People thought that was absolute garbage. And Mothering Mode makes sense for Big Mom's character, because Big Mom is just written to be a ball of chaos, so I understand where that came from.
All right, okay, yeah.
You know, if you think about how Big Mom started off, right? Like, in terms of justifying, it doesn't mean it's okay, but like, it just seems as though that maybe once Wano is done and we revisit it again, maybe that opinion will change. But for now, I see Wano as like one of the most polarizing arcs we've had, because Roof Piece, before Roof Piece, people weren't talking about Wano being the best arc in One Piece. They weren't. It was just like, oh, this is cool. You also had the Roger flashback, which was really important, and then you had the Reverie stuff in between. But for the most part, Wano was kind of just, you know, kind of steady. Just, it was more like a whole cake Dressrosa feel. Once we get Roof Piece, all of a sudden we're talking about Marineford and things of that nature. Yeah. But the problem is with Roof Piece, we also had lows right after Roof Piece with Mothering Mode. Literally, it just went from all the way up here, all the way down. Like Sasuke versus Frankie. To this day, I don't know how people could enjoy that fight. That's just me. Reading that fight was painful for me. I'm gonna be very honest. I just couldn't take it.
It's funny because like Sasaki versus Frankie and Who's Who versus Jinbei. I liked Who's Who versus Jinbei.
I did too.
But that's because the way the chapter ended, I thought we were halfway through the fight.
That's true.
Remember that?
Yeah.
That's the thing. And Sasaki versus Frankie, I actually liked it when I read it, but that's because the way the chapter ended, I thought we were halfway through the fight. I had no idea that was the whole thing. I was just like, that's what really threw me. I thought we're going to cut back, and then we just didn't. And that was just a fight. I was like, these fights are ass.
That's a fair point.
And I looked, But, saying like, okay, back to your main point, which is like Wano, most polarizing arc in One Piece. So the weekly reading argument, I used to kind of argue that shit myself. Like, I used to say that like that stuff, that's true, that like reading weekly versus binging, big difference. That's true. You've been a long time follower, right? How long have you been following One Piece?
I've been following One Piece week to week since the post time skip, and a little bit earlier than that. So I would say around like Marineford Thriller Bark, I've been following One Piece week to week from there.
So I'll say like Marineford, that's my second favorite arc in One Piece, and I read that week to week, and I like that. That was my second favorite arc as soon as like in the moment, and that was the best week to week reading experience I've had for anything ever, like any series ever. Like that whole run of like Ace dying, Whitebeard dying, Blackbeard getting his fruits, Shanks showing up, like I'd even say like Impel Down, Marineford, my favorite week to week reading experience, start to finish. So I think that it's somewhat true that arcs are going to be better binged, but you can still judge. You can still make opinions and kind of judge quality week to week because it's not going to be that much different. Exactly. Like I promise you, no matter what, you can fucking binge it or whatever. Kid and Law's Awakenings, you can binge it, whatever. They're not going to be hype. You can look at the series of panels that happened for Kid and Law's Awakening. It doesn't matter if you fucking binge it or read it week to week. It's not going to magically make their awakenings more hype because they're like. The reality is that Oda, like, you can read those pages. It happened in 4 pages. Oda did 0 build-up beforehand. All he did was have kids say, "You got Awakening, bro?" Law was like, "Yeah, I got Awakening, bro," and that's it. Compare that to Gear 2nd or Gear 4th. You can go back and read the Gear 4th chapter. Oda did a full chapter. He dedicated a lot of time, a lot of build-up, so Gear 4th was exciting.
He did
that was exciting week to week. It's going to be exciting binged. Like, you can talk about, like, the setup chapters and shit like that, and, like, that'll probably be better binged, but the reality is that, like, Wano's lows or whatever, they're not going to become better binged. It's going to be the same shit. Like, the Ice Oni situation isn't going to be better binged. Like, Numbering Mode is not going to be better binged. Like, because we're binging it, we fucking love it. It's just, like, that just is what it is. If anything, I don't know. Like, I don't think that, like, the week-to-week versus binge thing is, like, the main reason that it's been a polarizing arc of highs and lows. I think that's part of it. I think that's definitely a part of it, though. And maybe I will change some of my opinions on reread, but I don't think that that's the main reason.
So that Awakening take is very interesting, right? And I can't believe it, but like I literally, the moment you said Ice Onis, I felt my body shake because I just remembered how much I hated that Hyogoro moment, and I'm just like, oh my god, like another polarizing moment. Nah, but yeah. But the Awakening, we've known about Awakening for a while, right? Awakening's been one of those things where it's been like tiptoed in from like Impel Down to Doflamingo to Katakuri. So we've known about Awakening and we've just been waiting for it to be applied to Luffy. I think when it comes to characters like Law and Kid, these are more side characters, so they won't get the amount of attention and focus that Luffy would get Gear 2nd, Gear 4. I feel like with Luffy's Awakening, Oda might go the same route that he did with those, dedicate an entire chapter to Luffy understanding his awakening. I think with Kid and Law, I think it's enough for us just to see them use it, and we don't need an explanation from them.
So I'd say that basically, to me, like a lot of people were upset that Kid and Law, we didn't get an explanation. That was never it for me that much. I don't mind it. Like, I don't mind the fact that they got awakenings out of nowhere. That's kind of like how One Piece works in their power-up system. Where the fuck did Yabba Jambe come from? Where did Ashura come from? I kind of roll with it, but that's usually because I care about the moment. So if Oda makes it a cool, dramatic, climactic moment, that's what I really like, and he does a really good job with it. Now, you might say, well, Kid and Law are side characters, so it doesn't matter. But I would disagree, because, like, Law at this point is a bigger character than, like, several of the Straw Hats, I think. Yeah. Definitely Brook, Jinbei, etc. But you can even kind of just dial it back. So one, it's Kid and Law. They're fighting Big Mom. This is the second most important fight in Onigashima. The second most important fight. Like, above Sanji Queen, above Zoro King, it's the second most important fight in Onigashima.
Yep.
And Kid and Law have been framed as basically, like, this big three with Luffy, right? You can go back to just Robin and Black Maria. The way Oda built up to Robin's devil form reveal, I was hype. I actually really liked that chapter.
Yeah, it was.
I thought that was really good. It doesn't matter that was a minor fight against a Tobi Roppo with, like, one of the, less focused on Straw Hats. Like, Robin is more of a minor character in the story at this point than Law, by far.
Yep.
And it didn't matter. Like, he did that power up and reveal really well. So to me, it's just shocking that, like, you would write a chapter like that for Robin, unveiling her ability, but Kid and Law, who have, like, awakenings, which are such a big deal, you would just write it like that. Also, somebody just said, "More, do you want nonstop hype?" No, I use that as an example of something. I don't want nonstop hype. If anything, I don't like Roof Piece quite as much as a lot of other people do. All right? My favorite chapters in Wano so far, I wouldn't consider, like, the Sanji chapter, I consider that a really good chapter because it was a character-focused chapter. I would love to see more character-focused shit. I think a lot of what we've gotten in Wano so far, part of the reason that I'm not feeling Wano so far and Onigashima so far is because it's all been, in my opinion, more flash than substance overall. And I think I would rather get more substance. And to me, that's why I view the Kid and Law moment as particularly damning, because it's like, all right, if you're going to be an arc, if Onigashima is going to be an arc that's more style than substance, more flash than substance, then at least fucking deliver on the moments that are supposed to be hype. You know, like, if it's all going to be hype and no character stuff, then the hype moments, like Kid and Law getting awakening against Big Mom, just as a concept, that's crazy, then at least make that hype, you know? That's all I'm saying.
You know, I'm kind of with you on that, and he said Morj in hybrid form right now. I think,
oh, man, I feel like your Twitch crowd, you know what it is particularly? It's because your Twitch chat is, like, more okay with this. So I'm kind of like feeling the crowd and being more okay with it. But once you put this on YouTube, I'm gonna get mad.
That's why I said I'm gonna strongly consider whether we put this on YouTube or not. But for now,
it's good. I don't mind. I don't mind. I stand by everything I said. If you put whatever you feel is good.
Oh, trust me. I made a whole video on why I don't like Momonosuke growing, and they didn't like it, so I don't care. That trust me, you know I don't care. Oh yeah, no, they didn't like that video at all. But again, it's my opinion. I thought it was garbage. We'll get into that later. But I think. I like the way you frame that, because Kid and Law, especially Law's talking about learning about the true history. He's been with the Straw Hats for such a long time now. We had a whole flashback dedicated to Law. So for moments where they're fighting someone as big as Big Mom, you would think if the key to them actually damaging Big Mom and her bleeding for the first time in the series, that we'd give a little bit more attention to the ability that Kid and Law used. I think that would be worth a chapter. Alone, I think it would be worth a chapter, and they really just did it in about 3 or 4 pages. And
I went back and counted.
And while the attacks were cool, and the crew, you know, I'm still questionable, I'm still iffy on the name. We'll leave that one alone. You know, I think the whole aesthetic of Law's anesthesia was awesome. Kid finally pulling out the Magneto stuff that we've all wanted him to do, awesome. But I was hoping that we dedicated a bit more. We made a bigger deal out of it than it was. It seemed like a sweetener in the end rather than a huge event. To me, Big Mom getting scarred for the first time in the series without screaming is a big deal, and it doesn't seem like it was.
She just reported that, hey, I actually got really injured by those metal beams. I was like, what?
She was like, oh wow, I haven't been this hurt in years. Zoro scars Kaido, and it's a national event. And Caro doesn't even fall. It's a national event. Let me not rile the Zoro stance up. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do it.
No, but like, no, you're right. I mean, it's funny because like so many people for so long were talking about like, hey, people say Big Mom is weak and like Oda doesn't treat her well, but did you know that she's the only one on the roof who hasn't been injured yet? That's a big deal.
Nobody.
That's mostly because Oda just forgot, or like not forgot, but like the Supernova weren't exactly paying attention to her on the roof. As soon as they did, you know, she's scarred in like immediately, in like 3 pages.
Yeah. So I do see what you're saying. I do see what you're saying in regards to just delivering a bit more on these flashy moments. And even a better example, I thought the potential of Who's Who versus Jinbei was very high, because it's been a while since we've seen such a technical fight in One Piece before. That was a very technical fight from both parties, where I'm thinking, all right, Oda, Who's down right now. He's about to get up, show some more CP9 techniques. We're about to see Jinbei's deeper bag, like, okay. And he's just out. He just says, hey, Nika, gum, I'm racist, and that's it. That's all it was. And I'm like, there's got to be more than that. There has to be.
I still think so, though. Dude, you know I still think so. Okay, fun thing. I'll bring this up real quick. I still think so, because I still think that Toby Roper are going to get back up. I still think that, you know, we got some ways more to go. Nobody believes me, but, like, someone brought up, like, yesterday, a fun fact, which was that, like, back in Impel Down, you know those awakened zones? Those jailed beast guards?
Yeah, in Impel Down, yeah. The
Yeah, so there
Minotaur.
was actually a really in that arc, they made a really big deal and a repeated point of talking about how the jailed beast guards, one, they're awakened zones, two, even if you keep putting them down, they're gonna keep getting back up. And
Yep.
they even had like Crocodile talking about that. So like Luffy, Jinbei, and Luffy, Jinbei, and Crocodile. Luffy took out the jailed beast guards like multiple times. Luffy, Jinbei, and Crocodile, they took out all of them. And after that, Crocodile was just like, it doesn't matter, they're awakened zones, they're gonna get back up again at some point.
Yep.
So I like to believe that there's precedent in the story. For one, zones are tougher, and two, the idea that like they might be playing dead for like a little bit. So I've still got that, I've still got that hope in me. We'll see how the rest of these battles play out, but I still like to believe that the Tobiropo are not as, disappointing as they ended up appearing.
They were pretty disappointing, unfortunately. However, I'll give Altier credit. Alti took a lot of damage. Alti took a lot of damage and kept getting back up. So I would say Alti, at the very least, displayed what it's like to be in Awakened Zone.
I mean, okay, I'll say this. It's tricky for me with One Piece and, like, taking damage. Because, like, I think Oda does... I think Oda keeps track of power scaling more than a lot of people give him credit for. Yeah. I personally believe that. But I think Oda doesn't keep track that much of, like, durability or how much damage characters have taken.
Yes.
So that's why I kind of, like, when it comes to, like, durability shit, like, okay, Ulti took... I forget everything she took. She took some stuff from Big Mom, I know, and, like, Nami. I don't give actually that much credit to it personally, just because, like, I just think Oda kind of is very, like, I don't think he pays attention. I don't think he keeps track that much of, like, okay, should a character be down yet or not? You know what I'm saying? Like, you kind of just do whatever. But that's just me. I don't know. I still think that Oda's actually better at power scaling or keeps more track of it than a lot of people think.
And I would agree with that as well. And I guess we can move into this topic now, because I think what he's done with Sanji is very, very interesting. And I'm not going to go through this whole spiel again because I've done this with the vast amount of Sanji videos I've put out because I want to. But ever since the Black Maria stuff, ever since we got what happened with the raid suit, ever since Sanji versus Page 1, even in the anime, everyone's talking about the Sanji and King moment now, okay? Haha, very funny, guys. We get it. The way Oda has handled Sanji's character, his combat ability, addressing his weaknesses, is something I just didn't expect Oda to really focus on Sanji as much as he's doing in Wano. I'm very surprised by it. Like, I'm very, very surprised. Like, the type of inner dialogue that Sanji had, did he have that inner dialogue in Whole Cake? I know he had a lot of struggles in Whole Cake, but in terms of like inner conflict and talking to himself and dealing with his own issues in his head, maybe I'm missing something in Whole Cake, but I don't remember that being a theme of Sanji in Whole Cake. It's more of just seeing how Sanji's being treated and his past and what he's dealt with and how he's reacting. But like the thought process, I thought that was very refreshing.
I would definitely agree. I mean, that's why I'm saying, like, I don't know. I can't say 100%. This is funny because we talked a little bit earlier in the stream about how we remember all these panels and shit, but I can't remember 100%, like, maybe Sanji did have more moments like that in Whole Cake, but this is the one, like, this stands out way more to me. I don't remember him having a chat. Like, he cried over the pudding stuff. Yes. That was nice. But, like, this was the first time that it really felt like he broke down everything that was kind of like everything he was weighing his values and kind of everything that we had known from Whole Cake to now, and I guess just in general for Sanji's character till now. But this was the first time it felt like, he's actually breaking down and like weighing his values and being like, actually having to be introspective and kind of Sanji himself discussing the type of person that he is and wants to be. And I think like it's funny that you bring up, the amount of focus Oda has had on like how this affects Sanji's combat abilities, because I think a lot of this goes to show Oda had greater awareness than a lot of us kind of, at least for me, I gave him credit for. I mean, I always believed that Oda would like do right by Sanji over time. I made that video like a while back about like Sanji goes through these cycles or whatever, but it seems like Oda really had the awareness of like exactly how fans were talking about him.
Yeah.
And like how people were saying, he's not part of the monster trio, doesn't have the durability and stuff. Oh, he needs the raid suit, things like that. And like so much of it was answered, like just the durability. That's the first thing that was fixed about him. And then just like the whole inner monologue, like, with like now he can tank Queen's attacks and shit like that, right? And the inner monologue that he had, like, he's very aware that, like, lots of fans are critical of him for, like, some certain characteristics that Sanji has, but, like, Sanji still places that first, and that's, like, a point that Oda's making. So, like, I don't know, I just like the fact that Oda seems to be very aware of all of the discussion around Sanji's character. Oda's probably aware of how Sanji hasn't looked good combat-wise and everything like that in the past. And he's aware that, like, a lot of the decisions going right now are, like, in the context of that. And I don't know, I just really like the chapter for a variety of reasons, but I think to me it shows more so that Oda has a plan in mind for the character. Where exactly it ends up, we don't know yet, but he's got a plan in mind.
So I'm glad you brought up that point, because the plan where Oda wants to take Sanji after this is very interesting. Because, like we mentioned, with Yamato potentially joining the crew, with Jinbei joining the crew, people were questioning Sanji's place, like, Jinbei's more mature, Jinbei's better vice captain material, Yamato is got conquerors, so Yamato's stronger, Sanji will just fade back into the background and just become a cook. I think what Oda is letting us know here, that it's not about the strength, it's not about your maturity. It is about the relationship between Zoro and Sanji, and their relationship with Luffy, that makes them the monster trio mixed in with their strength. Like, when you think about I'll use a basketball analogy. When you think about the Golden State Warriors, and you think about the relationship between Steph, Clay, and Draymond Green. Sure, Steph's the greatest shooter of all time. Clay's one of the greatest shooters of all time. But it's those three together, the fact that Clay can defend, the fact that Steph can play off the ball, the fact that Draymond Green can initiate the offense as an elite defensive player, all these characteristics together made them one of the best teams ever. And it's the same thing with the Monster Trio. With Zoro, he's stronger than Sanji. Let's not be stupid, all right? No one get that out of your head. No one ever said Sanji was stronger than Zoro. Luffy is the captain. He leads Zoro and Sanji, but Sanji supports Luffy and Zoro in so many different fashions, and I would argue the most brotherly relationship we have in the story is Zoro and Sanji. They're literally brothers. Look at how they talk to each other in that last chapter. That's like people who have been brothers for 20 years. That's the type of behavior they exhibit, where they just understand what each other is saying. Hey, if I'm not myself, take me out. Zoro's like, okay. He doesn't ask any questions, nothing. And they're in the middle of a fight.
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah, it was an amazing moment.
It's just such a good moment, and people understand. They think that I'm just attacking. I hate Zoro. They just have this notion that I hate Zoro. It doesn't make any sense to me. The best parts of pre-time skip is Zoro and Sanji's interactions with each other, because this is basically what we're getting again, is understanding that the substance that you were talking about. There's substance in these interactions. There's substance in what Sanji's saying, because when you look within yourself and attack your own ideals, you are attacking your being and your substance and questioning it and then coming to a conclusion. It's one thing to ask the question, but to come to a decision and then destroy the raid suit in front of, I'm like, yo, Sanji is, I'm like, I don't know who this Sanji is. I haven't seen this before. So then a question I want to ask you is this the best we've ever seen from Sanji?
To me, yes. I mean, to me, like, okay, I'm going to say, like, full scope, like, my favorite Sanji moments before this were, like, hype moments. Like, I like the Hunter moment for me was my favorite. Yeah. My personal favorite. I thought that was really, you can write it off as, like, oh, it's just a cool moment, but, like, that's not a bad thing. It's a really, really, really cool moment. Hunter moment, Mr. Prince, give me a light, stuff like that. Yeah. I think this was the best character moment for Sanji over the course of the entire series for me. I think it's the first moment, like you said, like really getting in his head about who he is and what he values and forcing him to make a decision. And I think my favorite part about it is that, like, nobody saw this coming. Like, yes. Like it felt really fresh because nobody's, like, it wasn't a sort of, like, great example, the Black Maria thing, right?
Yes.
I remember, like, the chapter happened. I didn't particularly like it. Then people kind of gave it some time. They're like, you know what? This is character development because Sanji asked for help. And it's like, yeah, you're right. But it doesn't feel like a really fresh direction for the character. Like, it feels like kind of straightforward. Like, yeah, it's character development, but it's also kind of just going through the motions. It doesn't feel like I'm reading something that's really, really, like, shifting my perception of Sanji, or like a bold new direction for Sanji the character. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't feel bold. It feels like this is maybe something that, like, if I handed One Piece to a fan and asked them, like, hey, write Sanji some character development in, like, Wano or something, they're like, okay, he'll have the Khalifa incident again, but this time he asks for help, and it's like, okay, cool. And it's not bad. I'm not saying it's necessarily bad. I'm just saying that, like, this is what I read One Piece for Oda to, like, kind of shock me with, like, the direction he has, or like the vision he has for these characters, and writing really bold, cool scenarios for these characters, like things that we as fans would not think of for the character. I don't think any of us thought about, like, okay, what if Sanji's turning into German, then he's losing his values and his sense of self, and like he has to actually sacrifice the raid suit. Who thought he was going to break the raid suit?
Yes,
exactly. There's a consequence to his act. I don't know. I just really like the direction that I saw out of all of this.
So one way I can back up your point is another instance where something that we did not expect from a character happened, and that's Usopp leaving the crew in Water 7. Now, that moment, people universally reach that moment like, wow, I did not think Usopp would ever fight Luffy and harm, like, legitimately harm Luffy and try to defeat him. And then Luffy actually beating Usopp to a pulp. And, like, that moment was so hard for us because that is, like, One Piece is all about friendship and Nakama and sticking together, and that's the one time where it's like, nah, there's things that are more important than this little pirate game that we're doing. So when you see moments like that, you're like, that's the foundation of One Piece, is those moments. The foundation. So, the first time Sanji didn't kick a woman, that's a point. You didn't expect that to happen. You didn't expect Sanji to go that far.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, even with Zoro and Mihawk in Baratie, when he fought Mihawk, the way he fought Mihawk, I thought he was gonna die. Like, you see Zoro, that moment with him and Mihawk was jarring for me because we know that's his end goal, but he reached his end goal so quickly, and just to see the overwhelming difference and the fact that he was defeated, he stood back up and said, "Finish the job." I'm like, finish the job? I was like, we lost. Are you trying to die? To the point where obviously Mihawk purposely didn't kill Zoro. He could have killed him right there. I think he made it so that Zoro would survive.
No, of course.
And I genuinely believe that's what Oda was going. But, like, it's those specific moments, like Robin betraying the crew, Nami leaving the crew to go back to Arlong. You know, like, these moments of, like, shock and, like, different directions that we're taking in.
Yeah.
These are the moments that I feel like we've been missing. And I think with Sanji in particular, that was caught me off guard. The moment with Robin and becoming the Devil Child transformation.
I like that.
We didn't think Robin was going to be a combatant anymore. Turns out Robin has this crazy technique that we didn't know about.
Dude, yeah.
And then the Fishman Islands, with Koala and Hack, and her using Fishman karate, and that callback to them at the Revolutionaries, like, good stuff. Like, really, really good stuff. So it's like, that's what we're looking for when we're talking about substance. That's what we're looking for in these specific moments, right?
I had difficulty kind of explaining to view, like, what's missing, right? Because you can't really point it out as much till it's there. Like, people are like, Morj, you're wrong. Like, these elements you're talking about, they're not missing. Then we got last chapter, and I was like, well, see, this is an example of what I'm talking about. And now people are kind of, at least from what I'm seeing, people are kind of more on board. Like, okay, I get it. Like, this was clearly something we did not have in Onigashima up to this point.
Yes.
Certain moments that to me define Oda's storytelling style. Like, you talked about a lot of them. Nothing happened, for example, right? Nothing happened, I always maintain, that's one of my favorite moments in the series because it's a One Piece exclusive. You will never find another series that writes a moment like that because there's just a certain style of, like, what Oda's trying to get across. Like, he's like, it's kind of like Oda's trying to think, like, what's the most powerful, shocking, larger than life display of loyalty that I can come up with. And, like, he writes a moment that you literally don't know the direction it's going the entire time till you get to that final page, and he's just like, nothing. Like, it's just layers on layers of, like, surprise and shock, and, like, the final message or, like, impact that it has on you, like, what the character was willing to do. That's what really gets you. I'd say, like, Raizo Dono is Safe is a similar example, very just not as impactful. But, like, Raizo Dono is Safe, you would never find that in another series besides One Piece, in my mind. Because there's this type of storytelling or surprise or, like, powerful sort of displays of character or resolve or, like, you know, certain things that he is able to kind of put on page that in a way that I think Oda has plenty of weaknesses and he's not as good at certain other things. Like, but he's really, really good at these powerful displays of character, in my opinion.
Yep.
So, I think that just a lot of that, I haven't felt that much in Onigashima. I haven't felt like there's a lot of... I think I'm going to try and stop stop talking about things that I think are missing from Onigashima, because I've been talking about that a lot this stream. But you get where I'm coming from, basically.
I do. And another moment that we can also harp on, and Onigashima, that you might have forgotten, I understand because that just came to my memory. So Kaido has been a very interesting character to me for a while, right? And Kaido seems to have a lot of those own little introspective thoughts that he has, especially with how excited he got with Luffy. And then when Luffy disappointed him, and that inner monologue, like, oh my God, another one, he got too cocky, these humans, like, they learn a new trick, and like, it just goes to show, like, there's something in his past that he is fighting with all the time, and it's depressing him. That type of substance gives me so much hope for Kaido's backstory, and I think we've forgotten about it because we haven't seen Kaido in quite some time. We see like snippets here and there, but that's coming. And when that comes, if Oda really cashes in on the substance that we know Kaido has, it's another moment like that we're talking about. Like, that's why Kaido's still holding interest. Sanji is now, he's gone from, just another Straw Hat to a star. I would say this is one of Sanji's best arcs. Ironically, at first I thought it was one of his worst. Now I'm starting to see, like, he's growing at a level that I haven't seen before.
Dude, okay, so I'll say a few things. One, when respond to this person in chat who just said, Morj trippin', stories where characters don't snitch while being tortured are plentiful. That's true. Now think about that and why that's different than the nothing happens scene. Think about why the nothing happens scene is 10 times more impactful, because it's way, way, way harder to take a concept that's been done a million times and find a way to actually make it really powerful and memorable and iconic than just do it the same way as normal. So Oda found a way to top something that's normally done, in millions of different stories. He found a way to make it special and unique to One Piece. You will not find it done in that style in any other series but One Piece. Now, besides that, I think Kaido, people ask me, what's your favorite part about Onigashima? I just always answer Kaido. Kaido's the most interesting part about Onigashima to me, by far.
Oh, yes.
By far the most interesting part about Onigashima. I think that there's so much... Dude, like, he's smarter. Not smarter, at least wiser than any villain we've had so far. He's actually self-aware. He's actually legitimately like... Most villains fucking underestimate or call Luffy a scrub all the way from start to them being defeated. Kaido's the first one who's like actually seeing potential. He's actually aware of certain things. He's calling out shit, like he said that, when he beat Luffy the second time, knocked him off the roof.
Yeah.
Is like, well, they're not going to see your head. Like, they don't see you. They don't see, like, I didn't take your head off or whatever. So they're all going to still keep believing that they're going to win. Yep. Right? He's very self-aware. And that's literally exactly what happened. So Kaido's a lot smarter than a lot of people kind of giving him credit for, because he's got that big, brute sort of persona.
Yep.
The dude has got a lot of wisdom and experience behind him, and I'm really interested in seeing. And he's got a plan. He's in Wano for a reason. He even mentioned that to Yamato or something like that. I'm very interested in Kaido.
Yeah.
I'm very, very interested in Kaido.
I 100% agree. I think that perception that we had of him of being this brute is actually helping with the fact that he actually is a little bit more introspective than he thought. Like, it's a nice contrast when it comes to the way the character is designed and how they actually behave, which I think is nice. Because he's still a brute. He still has that behavior, especially when he fights. But you just get random snippets. It's like, all right, well, don't release this to the newspaper. They don't need to know what's going on out here. Like with Luffy as well. Like, oh, Kaido, I didn't know you used your brain. Like, things of that nature. So, but for the most part, how do you see, are you okay with him destroying the raid suit? Are you disappointed that happened? Did you wish we got a little bit more?
I never liked the raid suit from the start.
Okay.
Because I always preferred that. It just felt weird. One, it felt like it went against what Whole Cake Island was pushing a lot. It felt like at the very least it went against what Sanji himself felt like he came away from Whole Cake Island from. I mean, there's literally panels of him at the end being like, I'm not going to use this raid suit because during my science bad, right? That's literally what he says at the end of the arc. I felt like Oda was kind of just in my mind, Oda was kind of hand-waving that or ignoring that just to give Sanji a power-up, which I felt was a little cheap. So I really, really loved Sanji destroying the raid suit because it felt just felt like Oda had the awareness of, you set these ideas up in Whole Cake Island. You established that this is how the character views these things at the end of Whole Cake Island. You had him dip his toes into using that power-up, and then you had him return to his true self, and now the sacrifice of destroying the raid suit means more because Sanji actually got to try it a little bit and realized that he realized it's a valuable power-up that he's throwing away, so it now has value because he's making a sacrifice, right? So I actually really like the way that Oda did it. I never liked the raid suit because, dude, I don't know. Okay, I wanted to tweet this after the chapter came out, but I held back because I was like, it's going to stir up too much controversy. But I was going to tweet, like, now Sanji fans can stop pretending that they like the raid suit this entire time.
Wow.
Because I feel like that's literally the case. I'm going to be honest. I think Sanji fans did not like the raid suit for a long time. I think a lot of people did not like, at least coming off of Whole Cake Island when it was introduced. A lot of people were like, Sanji's not going to use that. That's against his values. People were like, Sanji shouldn't need the raid suit to keep up. Then once it became clear that Sanji's going to be using the raid suit, then like there's all sorts of discussion about that. Then Zoro got Enma, so they're like, well, Zoro got a power-up. That's not his own ability. Therefore, it balances out and stuff. These are the discussions, and I think Sanji fans literally, they got so used to the idea. I'm sorry if I'm speaking to you as a Sanji fan, but like this is my perception. I think Sanji fans, because you love the character, you kind of just like over time accept and like reframe your mentality to be like, you know what, I'm okay with the raid suit, now I like it. Even if that's not how you truly organically feel deep down. I think most Sanji fans were not happy when they initially realized that Sanji was going to have to start relying on stuff that was not his own physical abilities. This was the discussion that was going on way back when. Sanji fans kind of just like changed their because they had to, because it's just like, okay, this is just what it's going to be, so let's just deal with it. You know what, raid suit good. Not saying it's like a conscious decision. I'm just saying it's like subconsciously over time, you're like, you know what, I'm okay with this, I'm cool with this or whatever. Now everyone can stop pretending. Sanji doesn't need a raid suit. Like, look at how badass he is at this point. He can tank an attack from Queen just head on straight up. That's my opinion. I think that if I tweeted that, I'd get a lot of hate, but
actually, I don't think you would have. I believe it or not, I don't think you would have, because I actually do believe a lot of Sanji fans feel that way. Me in particular, I can't say I felt that way, mainly because I didn't put too much thought into the raid suit at all. I just didn't do it. I said it's a power up. Sanji's needed one. I didn't know how Oda was going to do it, so I guess this is the way it's going to go. It is what it is, right? I saw the complaints. I'll be honest with you, I took that power up like I was an everyday reader. Raid suit, cool. What does it do? That's it. Can he use Diablo Jambe with it? Is it actually going to allow him to fight Awakened Zoans? Sure. The moment he destroyed it, I'm like, all right, well, it's gone. I didn't like the cape anyway. It was a little tacky. I've told people, like, the design itself, I'm not really a Power Ranger fan, so I could live without it. So, plus we got, his Germa genes were activated, so at this point, the durability is not really necessary anymore. So, I would say this, one thing I'm thinking about is now, how is Sanji? The always question's been, how does Sanji pack enough punch to put someone like Queen down? Oda still has not shown me how Sanji's going to do that, because I thought the raid suit with Diablo Jambe would add more force to his attacks. If that's not the case, is it the density of his body now that he's more robust because of the Germa genes, that his attacks are stronger naturally? That's a possibility. Antimatter Cake Course, is he going to one-shot Queen? I don't think so. So it has to have something to do with his flames. He's using Hell's Memories. Are we going to get like a Human Torch as Sanji? Are we going to learn more about Lunarian DNA? Like, is that going to become a factor? Like with the Germa that we're using, like Henry Needle and the Tachyon stuff. Okay, we have all of that. I just want to know what Oda's going to do with Sanji and this fight now. We got the character. It's good. Perfect. Fine. So we destroyed the raid suit. How do you rectify that situation? And I don't know how he's going to do that.
That's the tricky thing, because okay, on the power-up side, I actually really like that idea that you just talked about, like, focusing more on the fire, right? The fire, Hell's Memories, maybe Lunarian DNA, whatever the hell Sanji's source for fire is, basically. Because that feels unique to him. And I like the idea that it's, like, fueled more by his passion and his emotions. It fits theme of the character, etc., right?
Yeah.
So I like all that. It's more unique to him. It's something that he has that, it's not the same as just, like, improving your armament hockey, because, like, Luffy and Zoro are always going to have better armament hockey than him. Yeah. But, like, I like the idea that Sanji could be getting more into his own niche of, like, he's got hockey and shit, but he's also super durable, and he's got, flames that can get however hot. Who knows?
Yeah.
what was the other? The other thing though is that like as much as I praise that Sanji character moment, I really like it because it shows Oda has a plan. But like you just said, how does it all resolve? And that's really tricky because like the fight with Queen now, is it like? Will you just pose something really interesting for his character? Like, is Sanji going to go through some actual like physical changes? Is he going to start losing some of himself? Is it going to be like, oh, guess what? I was actually just fine, and none of that stuff was that like just my eyebrow changed, and nothing really else changed or whatever.
Did he actually hit that girl? Like,
yeah. Like how Oda plays it out is going to be really important. It's good to see he has a plan. We don't know where that plan's going, or like whether we're gonna like the resolution of it or not. So I'm gonna bask in the glory of the last chapter, and then just pray that the next chapter is something like as good, or at least like resolves it in a way that we can all feel good about.
Yeah, definitely fingers crossed on that part. But let's shift gears because we've been streaming for quite a bit.
Yep.
And I wanted to dedicate some time to the One Piece live action. Now, I'm assuming you've done your reaction already. I'll check that out. If you haven't checked it out, go to Morj's channel, like the video, watch the entire reaction. I watched the trailer on Twitter. I'm not gonna put a reaction video out. Don't ask me; it's not coming. All right, you're getting this video instead. What are your initial thoughts on the casting? Just because I'm assuming you don't know any of the actors. If you do, I have IMDb up. What is it? IMDb? Yeah, I have IMDb up, so we can go through each individual actor. But what was your first? What's your gut reaction to seeing the characters, the aesthetic? How do they fit? Like, were you surprised? Like, what,
And so, okay, well, my reaction's not up yet. It'll be up like probably Thursday, Friday or something like that. I just recorded it, but it'll be up soon.
Okay.
So this is a preview, I guess. I think Emily Rudd is not. Have you seen how much? Okay.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah. Emily Rudd as Nami looks spot on, right? Dude, the only thing we can go off right now is how they look.
Exactly.
And like, I don't know if you saw, they had like a little video where they each said, "Hi, I'm blah blah blah, and I'm playing blah blah." Yeah. So I saw that, and I saw Luffy's voice actor say this shit. I was like, what is this?
Where are we going with this? Yeah.
You gotta remember. I'm telling myself, like, when actors do their auditions and stuff, they're putting on their accents, they're putting on their characters and stuff. Like, this is just, it doesn't matter what he's sounding like here. It's just cool. I will say that I think I could see each of them in those roles, except Sanji. But even Sanji just didn't look like him at all. Did Sanji look like? I don't know. He didn't look like him at all. Like, how do you feel about Sanji's casting?
So Sanji's casting was interesting because you see the Eminem jokes. Obviously, you see them. They're there, right?
Obviously.
So
obviously.
I
did a double take because I was like, I didn't think it was from the official account. I was like, this is just a photo of Eminem. I was like,
Sanji, out of all of the people that were cast, Sanji looked the most out of place.
Yes,
I would say he looked the most because Zoro, the casting of Zoro makes sense to me. Sanji, I was thinking, I don't know. It's hard for me to put a finger on it because it's the short hair that's throwing me off. Like you said, obviously they gotta get the character, the makeup, the eyebrows. They're gonna look better, right? Once they're actually in character. I was thinking the same thing with Luffy. He's got a curly hair. Luffy's never had curly hair, so so where's that coming from? My reaction to Sanji is, I'm worried. I'm just worried. He's the one that concerned me the most. Because I don't know how I'm gonna enjoy looking as a Sanji fan, looking at him on screen with his facial structure and how I know he looks. I'm like, how is this gonna make me feel? Because Usopp, we all knew Usopp had to be black or at least light skinned to a certain degree. All right, so you let that one go. They can do the nose. Emily Rudd, very pretty girl. Nami, very pretty girl. Nami. It just literally makes sense. Like even the face, the aesthetic. She's gonna be perfect for Nami.
Luffy, I think it'd be hilarious if Emily Rudd's like a terrible actress.
Oh
and,
my
like,
God, bro! It would be terrible.
And then like she just starts speaking, she's like a total amateur. Let's assume that won't happen.
Well, that's the thing. So then with Luffy, I think Oda mentioned in like a SBS or something that Luffy would be Brazilian or something like that. And Luffy is he's a little olive skinned, kind of darker in complexions. So I think the casting for Luffy is fine as well. I'm okay with that. So for the most part, and the Zoro's cool. So with like all of that on paper looks good. One thing that concerns me a little bit, about people is that we're like freaking, oh my god, they got all these guys that are, yeah man, this is gonna be great. One Piece live action is gonna be different. You cannot make an assessment on this until you actually see them act in their role, and then you decide if they're good. Great actors have done bad movies before. So it's not about the person themselves. It's about how they play the role and how it fits. So all we can go off is the aesthetic and then make predictions. It's hard to do that. Think about, I wasn't a fan of the Ben Affleck Batman, right? I wasn't a fan of it. Christian Bale Batman, I love Christian Bale Batman. The Heath Ledger Joker, Joaquin Phoenix, like, when you look at those guys, I'm like, all right, they did a great job. I didn't like the Ben Affleck one. I'm hoping, better for Robert Pattinson, right? So, like, these are the things that we can go off of. And we don't have a trailer either. Maybe when we get a trailer of them actually in the roles and seeing how they're talking, how they're moving, how they look with the costume on, that's when we can make a real judgment. But for now, I think it's more the excitement that it's actually... They're casting people. We got the cast. It's here. I think that's where the excitement is coming from. But let's not act like this cast is going to blow everyone away.
Yeah, I mean, it's not... I mean, people were throwing out so many named stars as, like, possibilities. They're like, I want Robert Downey Jr. to play Shanks or some shit like that. That stuff's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. It is sad that basically we kind of are judging them, literally judging a book by their cover, right? Like, that's very literally what we are... Not literally, but that's what we're doing.
That's
right?
what we're doing, yeah.
We're basically just, because that's all we got to go off. And it's not fair at all. We're kind of, it's sad that we're already like, oh, this guy is the perfect fit for this character because it's closer in appearance. For all we know, Sanji's actor could be the best actor in my
Probably, he could be an excellent Sanji, yeah.
Very possible. And, despite the joke I made about Emily Rudd, I hope that she is really good, and Chad is telling me that she is a really, really good actress. That was purely a joke. But I'm just saying that, like, the performance, I would almost say that it's possible that if Sanji's actor doesn't look that close to Sanji, maybe that tells you that he really killed it at the audition, enough so that it made them rethink and be like, okay, he's not an exact fit.
We can make it
work. But, like, the talent is enough that we would want him in this role. So, it's just sad that we kind of, no matter, like, I put out my reaction and my stuff like that because, I'm a YouTuber and, I'm scum. So that's like, I'm going to talk about it. But, like, that's just, that's just the way it is. But, like, I also try to make clear that, like, we shouldn't judge too much based on just their appearances because that's just not fair to them. And it says nothing about their ability. And, like, the reality of it is, the acting, finding the right actors is the least likely factor in this whole One Piece live action to make the whole thing bad. You know what I mean? Like, you can find actors for this shit. The hard stuff is, like, how are you going to make the effects look good? How are you going to make Luffy's style of fighting actually work in the real world? How are you going to make the tone of the series, the type of comedy, all of this stuff? There's like a million things harder than the acting. It did honestly get me a little excited, though. I don't know about you, but, like, it did. I felt a little excited seeing the casting for the live action, just because it feels a little bit more real to me at this point.
It seems like it's approaching fast, and it seems like I was just talking about this in the spaces in Twitter. We have been scarred by Dragon Ball Evolution and Avatar: Last Airbender live action. So the bar, Death Note live action, trust me, the bar is low. I want everyone to understand with these live action anime movies, the bar and series. We haven't really had a series, so this is kind of like new ground as well. The bar is very, very low. I told them I'm praying for a 7 out of 10. I don't need it to be brilliant. I really don't.
Did you see The Witcher? Did you see The Witcher?
I watched the first couple episodes, but I didn't finish it.
I'd give The Witcher a solid, like, 5 or 6. But you know what? That's all it really needs to be, because that's enough to get more people interested in the series, and that's all that I really, care about. Like, I will like the novelty of seeing this stuff in live action, and I'm happy to know that it's going to make One Piece, if it's any half decent at all. Like, it just needs to be as good as The Witcher. Just make it as good as The Witcher, which wasn't even that good, but it was fine, somewhat enjoyable for a lot of people.
Yes.
Just make it that good. It'll make One Piece a lot bigger, worldwide, household name. That'd be really cool to see.
Yep.
Also, one thing I'd add on the Sanji point before I forget. Remember we had Matt Owens on...
yes, in the Reverie.
Said Sanji's his favorite character. So I would trust that, even if the Sanji casting is a little off, I would bet that there's, like, I don't know, some extra care put into that
Just
casting because it's
all
my favorite character.
No lollipop, cigarette. That's all I ask.
Oh yeah, no
This is no lollipop,
Dude,
please.
the show starts episode 1 with a lollipop.
Oh,
Everyone's turning that shit
Everyone knows exactly where we're going. I'm like, nah, we're going down a
That's
really
just-
bad road here.
Hey Zolo, what's going on? It's like, all right, we're fucking.
Are they gonna call him Zolo? I really hope they don't.
No, there's no way.
Oh my goodness. So I would say if there's one aspect that you would want to go well with this live action, right? I guess we can wrap this up with this. What aspect of the live action would you want to be good in order for you to be happy about it? It could be like the writing, the plot, the action, the aesthetic, CGI, any of those factors.
I think the thing that can win most people over, so that's kind of how I view it. I think if they don't try too hard on nailing all of the, supernatural stuff, I think if they try to play that as close to reality as possible, I think if they don't try too hard to recreate all of the crazy gags, all of the crazy character quirks, like play it safe with as much stuff as you can. I think if they really try to nail the emotional side of One Piece.
Yes.
So let's say if they can nail the Nami backstory in live action, for example, I think that will really, really, because that's the type of thing that will really earn One Piece new viewers, new fans, and that is, funnily enough, that's the thing that you can get close. That's the thing that's easiest to adapt out of all the things in One Piece. Luffy versus Buggy. You don't got it. Like, that's hard to adapt. Just having Luffy fight Buggy, that's a hard thing to adapt.
Yeah.
But the great thing is that's not what is the most important aspect. Something like Nami's backstory, Sanji's backstory, these are things that are easier to adapt. And those are the things that are really, in my mind, the substance of One Piece at the end of the day. And if they can get those things down and kind of play it safe down the middle for everything else, I think it'll do a great job showing lots of outside fans who don't know anything about anime or anything like that what a great story is contained in One Piece. I think even in the overarching plot, even if they try to keep that simpler, if they just try and nail the strong, emotional, hard-hitting points of each arc, I think that's going to make a successful series.
What about you? I did not even... It didn't even hit me how important that is, right? The emotional aspect of One Piece being that important, because that's the truth. One of the things that separates One Piece from a lot of these series, even like the big three, is the emotional aspect is always extremely strong. Like Naruto does the emotional aspect very well, so let me not act like Naruto doesn't do it.
No, it does
it too. Yeah. But One Piece has a special type of moment where you feel it and then it lingers for a long time, and you always remember the emotions you felt when you think about the moment, like Nami stabbing her arm and screaming Arlong. You always remember that moment and how jarring it was just to see her rage and shock and anger and upset. And this Luffy just standing over her and looking at her. And just waiting for her to say, help me. Yeah. And then Luffy's like, it's about damn time. Like, yo, let's go. Yeah. If they nail that. Yeah, bro, if they nail it. But the thing is, it could be corny because the walk in real life, would be corny. We know it's gonna be corny. It's matter of fact, I don't want them to do the walk. Don't do it, please.
Don't skip the walk.
Don't do the walk. Skip the walk. Skip the walk to Arlong Park. Don't.
Just have Luffy busting in. That's the cool part.
Yes.
Bust in, punch Arlong.
Yeah, I think that would be good. But the emotional aspect. So I won't take your answer because I think that's a great answer. I think it is going to be how they animate Luffy's Devil Fruit, and like how it's difficult, but I think you can keep it realistic, and we have evidence. Like think about the Fantastic Four, Mr. Fantastic. Like we have evidence of what a rubbery CGI can do. Sanji's fighting style, you can replicate that. That's just like crazy martial arts. I'm not gonna act like it's easy, but it's crazy martial arts. Zoro's a swordsman. These early characters, we can keep it realistic. It's Luffy and the buggy fight, like you mentioned. That's going to be really interesting to see. How they do that can actually help the seriousness in which people take the story. Because if it looks goofy and wacky, that's Luffy we're talking about here, right? Like, you have to nail Luffy. I feel bad for this actor because there's a lot of pressure on him. Let me get his name. I think it's Inaki Godoy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pressure on this kid because Luffy has to hit, and Luffy's a very lovable character, and he's one of the most beloved MCs we've had in history.
Yeah.
how he behaves, his mannerisms, how he captures Luffy's behavior, and then how they animate Luffy. That's going to be really important. I think that's something that I would really hang my hat on. I'm going to pay attention to Luffy a lot.
Dude, you know what's tricky though about that, like specifically what you just said? Have you ever watched the One Piece dub, like the new one at all?
Funimation?
Yeah. Whoever's doing it right now.
Yeah,
Funimation.
I have. Yeah.
So at least from what people have reported back and what I've seen, and I've watched a little bit of it myself, and I can get it. A big turnoff for a lot of people is Luffy in the dub. And what I kind of realized is that, like, we're kind of blessed that we have the voice actress that we have for Luffy in the in the Japanese version.
Yep.
Because Luffy, I didn't realize, really, really fucking difficult character to nail, because Luffy plays this line of like almost being annoying. Like, he does so much annoying shit and like childish shit and stupid shit, and it's like so blatantly like willfully ignorant of so much stuff. It gets really annoying for if you don't have the right voice actor or actor to portray it.
Yes.
And that's something that people hate about the dub for Luffy. Even the new dub that they say is way better than 4Kids. A lot of people say that Luffy in the new dub isn't that good because he comes across as like, just an annoying ditzy teenager who just causes a lot of trouble. So you really, like with Luffy, you gotta like really, really nail, like you gotta make it endearing. Like the naivety and the annoyingness has to be endearing, and that's really, really, if they don't get that right, it's just going to be very difficult to make the series work at all. So you're right, he's got a huge
task on his shoulders. Yeah,
really, really hard.
And I think I'm glad you hopped on that, because I think a lot of people don't underestimate how important voice actors are. Voice actors are getting more and more recognition in our day and age because of Twitter, social media. We're really giving a lot of props to these guys. And I'm happy about it because, so obviously like me, I do the One Piece labs, and I like doing skits, and I like imitating voices. That's something I love doing. And I noticed when you pay attention to that stuff, you realize that how they sound carries so much weight in the delivery of what they're saying. It has to sound right. And if it doesn't sound right and you don't convey the right emotion, you don't have the right raspiness in your voice, you don't have the right bass, like these are like little things, like how you deliver a specific word. They're so important. So, like you mentioned, when you hear the kid's accent, people got concerned immediately, like, all right, is Luffy gonna be Spanish? Like, he's a Brazilian? Like, where are we going with this? So, but then again, if you look at did you ever watch House?
I've watched House, yeah.
Hugh Laurie is British. He speaks like he speaks like an American in House. It's the same thing with James Gandolfini in The Sopranos. If you hear his voice, he sounds like a regular, average corporate white man. He does not sound Italian.
He plays that shit up for Sopranos.
He plays it, bro. If you hear his voice, it will shock your soul. Completely different. Just a run-of-the-mill, he works at an insurance company white man. 55-year-old. That's exactly how he sounds.
Oh man, I'll definitely have to check that out.
Yeah.
Like, he does such a good job on The Sopranos.
Oh my goodness.
Such a good job on The Sopranos.
Yeah, so that's something that I think is important. I'm looking forward to it. I doubt we're gonna get a trailer anytime soon. Maybe.
No, because they just casted it. Yeah. Have you seen the Cowboy Bebop trailer at all?
I have. Guilty.
I wasn't a fan.
I'm a guilty. I haven't finished Bebop, so that's something I got to do.
I know that's totally understandable because like Bebop doesn't have a lot of momentum in its plot at all.
Yeah.
There's not really like, it's so episodic. There's not really a reason to watch the next episode.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a good show for sure. It just took me like a year to on and off watching to finish it. And at the end, I was like, I really liked it. I really liked some episodes, but it's hard to just like binge that show. There's not a lot that keeps you binging, But yeah, the Bebop trailer, I think that gave me the idea that, and we definitely should wrap soon because I'm very hungry and
I'm like, we're definitely going.
You're still wearing your work clothes, I guess, but like.
Oh no, I just put this on. I work from home today. This is all.
Oh my bad.
Yeah, I'm just chilling.
You look very professional.
Oh, thank you. I had to put the glasses on to let people know.
Yeah.
JD Scholar.
You treat me like a guest. But like the Bebop trailer, I think, I don't know. It's like they tried really hard to recreate a certain style, and they almost got it, but then they forgot what the entire show's like, what the tone of the show is supposed to really feel like. So I don't know. I know some people really like the Bebop trailer, so maybe I'm being too harsh, but that's just what I felt. So One Piece, I don't know, man. What's your bet? Do you think live action is going to be good? What's your bet? If you have to put money,
I'm putting money 6 out of 10.
6 out of 10.
6 out of 10. That's my money. What about you?
That's fair. I'd be happy with a 6 out of 10. I think that it's either going to be really good or really bad, or not really good, but like solidly good, like an 8 or like a 3. So that's. If I had to put my money, I'll put it on the 3. But I think that's like a 60-40 split. I'd put 40% on the 8. You know, I think it's either going to be great or terrible. I can't see an in between too well.
I just think talking to Matt Owens gave me hope, more hope. I think we're just lucky that we actually got like an insider discussion with the director, so we know at the very least he understands the story. That alone gives me hope that we can hit 6 out of 10.
Yeah, dude. I mean, to be honest, it's weird because it's fucked, but like it warps your perception a little bit because we talked to the guy, so like now in a small sense we kind of know him. So in my mind, it's like, well, I don't want to like talk shit about the series. You know, like Matt's trying hard on the series. You know, like
I know, man, he's a good guy. I don't want to abuse him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's so sad because like on any other series, if I don't know the guys, I'm just like, fuck it. The Cowboy Bebop trailer looked like ass, but like Matt's trying hard. Like I feel like he'll do a good. I like to think he'll do a good job. I wouldn't bet all the money in the world on it, but like I believe I'm giving him I'm giving the series like I think it's like a 40-50% chance. Maybe it's really, really good. I hope it's really good. I think he can do it. I don't know.
A tentative vote of confidence. And I think we can end...
tentative vote of confidence. I want him to succeed.
Exactly.
I would love to see him put on the best live action adaptation of anything we've ever done. I'm sure he can do it.
And we can do our part, by doing stuff like this, putting content out, reacting to all that. So we're doing our part, all that stuff, support him. And I think we can end on this note. My boy 25th Kishi said he compared Luffy to Camilla Harris. I don't know about him. So
no, that was Matt Owens. That was
Matt Owens. Okay.
That was not Matt Owens. I don't think. Was it?
I hope not.
No, it wasn't. No, it was some other dude. It was Steven Maeda. I don't know if you know who that is.
No,
Maeda. He's some other guy involved in it. Matt Owens didn't say that shit.
Okay, all right. So let's Steve, you're on fraud watch. Matt, you're still good, so you're fine. All right, but Morj, thanks for joining. Appreciate you as always. It's a very, very entertaining stream. I feel like I got to see Durag Morj again, so it's always nice to see that. But now it's seeming, you got Durag, because remember, so Durag Roger was born on a Twitch stream of JD Legend. So I bring it out in you guys. The inner Durag. It's like I don't know if you ever read Toriko, but there's like a food demon, inside of you that comes out.
I don't read Toriko, even though so many people told me to, because I'm afraid if it makes me hungry while I eat, it'll ruin my experience. And that's not a joke. Dude, like literally, like if I'm reading a manga and it's like got delicious food all over the page, it's just gonna ruin my experience. I won't be happy reading it. I'll feel hungry.
So you won't feel hungry just because the way they eat it is not the way you would eat the food. It's different. Food is like power. I know the statement sounded wild. My chat's gonna rip me up for it. So just he's gonna let it go. Right. Either way, the point is that there's an inner do-rag in everyone, and it comes out when we're here, and that's it. It's like it's got like hockey and energy. So
thanks, Jay. Unleash my inner do-rag. No. I'm gonna post this video on YouTube. I'm gonna get a bunch of flack on Twitter of people being like, Morj hates Wano because the raid's not gonna fail. I'm like, fuck, that's not why.
If it makes you feel any better, my chat has literally fallen in love with you. Like they like oh my god, Morj is the greatest person I've ever seen. This is exactly how I felt when I watched the ZKK video.
Yeah.
Yeah, but thanks for joining, man. Appreciate it, guys. That's the end of the stream. So don't forget to subscribe to Mr.Morj. Watch his live reaction that's coming out on Thursday. Is there any other plugs that you have before we wrap up, Morj?
No, I think that pretty much, that's pretty much it. Oh, subscribe to Jay. Subscribe to JD Legend.
Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also,
YouTube, yeah.
Don't forget to buy the Morj plushie. Are there still some available? Are they still?
You can't buy anymore. They don't exist anymore.
Limited edition.
I have some extras. You can buy some from me, but they're very expensive now. I priced them at $250 if you want a plush.
Hey, like I said,
you can still get one.
Hey, if you still want them, 200 bones. And that's plus $50 shipping and handling that goes to me because I'm the middleman. This is my stream. 100%. So, this is how this business works. You know what I'm saying? So, to support the family, support Morj. That's how we do it. But yeah, thanks, guys. Until then, take care.